soon as he's ready.
Recording in progress.
Are you ready, Tim?
I don't know yet.
Well, I'll start and say welcome everybody to the March edition of the Tips and Tricks SIG. Our format will be open forum, leading into the topics which I had sent out to the group, and we can pick and choose which ones we would like to cover. When we were waiting for people to come in, Tom was discussing issues that he was having with his laptop, not receiving 22H2, and Tim was reprising him how he can go and get it. I missed the other part that Tom was telling us about some viruses on his machine, or somebody was working on his machine. Tom, would you like to recap?
Sure. The machine seems to be running a bit slow. It is a slow machine to begin with, a little bit older, but I figured, well, maybe there's a problem with it. So I thought, let's take it and let Geek Squad at Best Buy take a look at it.
That's the problem right there.
Okay, please continue. Don't degrade him.
Well, I will say that was the problem, because what they ended up doing was reloading Windows 10 from its base version, and they erased quite a bit of the software I use on that machine. So I had to restore, reload a lot of things that I was using. And just today is when I noticed that it is running at the level of 21H2.
Okay. Now, since I helped you set those up, I thought I put Malwarebytes free on each machine. Did you ever run, before taking it into Best Buy, Malwarebytes free?
Yes.
Did it find any problems?
No.
Yeah, well, Best Buy doesn't have the greatest reputation in Geek Squad. Never has. There are stores that will have good techs, but the majority of them don't.
Okay, well, I cannot argue with you.
That doesn't help the gentleman, Tom, out. Tom, did they lose your data when they did this?
Well, I had a copy of everything, so they didn't lose anything. I could put everything back that I had that I was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as, things like pictures or documents, things like that, those were not destroyed. Everything was still there. The only thing that was lost, and I've recovered on my own, were different programs that I was using. Utilities.
Okay. All right. This all said and done, do you perceive the system is running more efficiently now?
Yes, because of what I put back in its place, not because of what they've done.
Oh.
They haven't helped at all, I'll say that.
And if you don't mind sharing to the group, what did this cost you to have Geek Squad do their little magic?
Give me a second, I can tell you, I think.
Oh, okay. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. I thought, for other members, they may like to know, what does it cost to take a computer to Geek Squad and let them do the magic? So if you know you care to share, that's fine.
I have no problem with sharing it. I'd have to find it.
Okay.
Well, okay, it was 2 computers that went to them, and it was for a year, and I will not bring it back to them, either of them again. And the 2 of them were covered at $180.
$180 for 2 machines, so about $90 a pop.
Well, $179.99. So
yeah.
$180
for 2. That's $90 a pop.
$90 each. Yes.
Okay. All right. And you're not satisfied with the work that they did?
Not at all.
Okay. do they give you the option to give them a feedback survey?
Not that I could see.
It might be on your receipt that you got for them. Sometimes they give you a chance to give a feedback survey. I would highly recommend that you give them feedback on that survey. Sometimes it's on the receipt. It says, tell us how we did. Go to their website. You put in these magic numbers, and you can give them some feedback and tell them, no, I paid blah, blah, blah. You don't have, the dollar amount doesn't matter, but I paid a lot of money, and I don't believe I got my money's worth, or whatever you feel. They made more work for you than not. Something. Give them some feedback on it. That being said, what else could Tom do to speed up his machine?
I've got a tip, but let Bob go ahead first.
Okay. Tom, question. Do you use Macrium Reflect or some other imaging software?
Um, think of the name.
Anything, any imaging software.
I don't know exactly what to tell you. Give me a second.
What I'm asking is, did you make, fairly recently, within the past 6 months, an image copy, a full image copy, a clone, as it were,
Yes.
of your
Okay.
system?
I don't memorize the names. That's why I had it back out of our screen. Yes, Macrium Reflect is the one I use.
And you did a full run of it sometime recently.
Yes.
Why not just roll back? Just put in the media and do restore, full restore. You'll be right back where you were before Geek Squad ever touched it.
And what you have to do is you have to have that rescue flash drive. You
Yeah.
boot the computer from the flash drive, and with after you start booting up off the flash drive, you plug in your backup drive. You don't want to have the backup drive plugged in at the same time. It sometimes causes problems. So you start the boot process on the flash drive. The little light on it starts flashing like crazy. Plug in quickly the backup drive in another port, and when Macrium Reflect comes up on the rescue media, it may recognize your drive and the last image you created. Not always. Sometimes you have to do what's called browsing to find the drive, the folder for that machine, and select then the last image you made.
Okay. Thank you.
So those are something. Something that, and I'm in my Windows 10 system. I'm going to share the screen. And I'm going to come over here and do that. And that's my desktop. Trust me. That's my desktop. Now, well, I always try and do a black screen because of the recordings. But anyway, if you notice down here in the bottom left corner of the taskbar, there's a white magnifying glass. I'm going to click it, and this is Microsoft's built-in search feature. Ooh. That's the first time I've seen it in 10. If you look at the near the top left side there, they're offering the Windows 11 version of Copilot AI program to try out on 10. That's the first time I've seen it. Otherwise, you have to use the version that's in Edge on 10. Anyway, on the bottom line there, what you do is you type in advanced, oops, I can't spell with a darn. And notice the top one here in the place of that Copilot offering. It says View Advanced System Settings. There's two things here that'll pop up. Now I have to give it my administrator password. This is quite normal because these tools, whoops, have to have total rights to do their magic. And I'm getting a stupid message. Anyway, bottom line is it opens up to this advanced tab of system properties. Click on settings, and almost every month they reset all these indicators in here, and a lot of this stuff will slow down your system a bit. It's not dramatic, but it depends upon the processor you have, and in that laptop it's very slow. These are the only 4 items that I leave checked: show thumbnail instant of icons, show Windows contents while dragging, smooth edge of screen fonts, and smooth scroll list boxes. When I uncheck everything else, I hit the apply button to make it go into effect. The second thing is there's an advanced tab here. Down here is your virtual memory, the page file of Windows. And it allows you, it'll tell you down here, here's a recommended amount because that's how much I'm using of a page file right now. And I'm currently allocating 3272 if I put it on here. And I allow a maximum of 3584 in a custom size, and I hit the set, and then I click OK. I'm going to cancel out of here, and then I OK this screen here. Back in this screen, system protections. System protections here should be on the C drive unless you move it like I can do on my systems. I've made changes to a lot for it. And if you click on this configure button, it tells you how much allocation of storage you have for restore images. And this can be a big factor when you're doing a lot of updates, say once a month or something like that. Most of the time, you're not going to be doing that many updates. It won't matter. But this is one of your first lines of defense when something seems wrong. Go back. I'm going to cancel that there. And I can manually create at any time with this button here a manual restore point. A lot of Windows Update and program installations and driver updates will do their own restore point. If you need to restore, you go up here to Systems Restore, and it will show you shortly here what ones you have. I clean mine out periodically. So this is the last restore point I had on 310. If something was bonky, this is one of my first lines of defense. I can restore this restore point by clicking on it, highlighting, clicking next, and going through the prompts. In Windows 10, this is usually turned on, but various things seem to turn it off from time to time. And you might get a message saying it wants something you're doing wants to create a restore point. Unfortunately, it's turned off. Do you want me to turn it on? And always say yes. On the other side of the coin, in 11, for a reason I have no idea, they turn off system protection. So if you have 11, you have to go in here just to turn it on and configure it. And if you don't, then you have no restore points. So your first line of defense isn't there. Your second line of defense, as Bob brought up, is your system backups. Yeah, you're going to have a little bit of work because when you restore it, it's going to have to go through Windows Update again, and many of your programs that you keep up to date are going to be out of date. But you probably won't lose anything other than data files that were created since that last, or edited, since that last image backup was made. Then you have to take the image to heart, and you have the extra copies of your data files. You'd have to probably restore them.
Yeah.
So hopefully these little this little tip here can help on anybody's system.
Thank you.
Tim, you touched on two things there that I just wanted you to expand on, or anyone else in the group can expand on. What is the page file, and why do I have to worry about making it bigger or smaller?
Okay, your page file is what's called virtual memory. Let's just arbitrarily say I've got a computer. It's only got 8 gigs of memory in it. But I'm trying to run in this Zoom meeting. I may have a browser going. I might have a few other odds and ends going as well. All that's exceeding the 8 gigs of memory. That's where virtual memory comes into. It uses a file on your hard drive. And that hard drive can be a spinning hard drive or an SSD. Doesn't matter which. It creates a page file for virtual memory. That slows down your process if you are going to dump out a lot of stuff and bring it back in, because you pay a time penalty every time virtual memory has to be used. So that'll slow you down. The third thing that'll slow you down is your drive, whatever that is exceeding 65% full. Do you know how to determine that, Tom?
No.
Okay, I'll go back to here, and I'm using my 10 machine to show you stuff. All right, go to File Explorer here, bring it up, and find your C drive. Here it is down at the bottom on mine. I'm going to right click, and this machine's a little bit slow too, and hit Properties. There's how much in the blue I have consumed so far. Basically speaking, I've got 161 gigabytes out of 448. You have, if you don't do math well in your head, you bring up the calculator and find out what percentage is 161 gigabytes of 448 gigabytes. That gives you the percentage. When you start exceeding 65%, it automatically, no ifs, ands, or buts, will start slowing your machine down without telling you. In fact, the two machines I'm working with here had 256 gigabyte drives on them, and in January I switched both of them to 512 gigabyte drives. So that's why I have lots of extra space.
Okay, we covered that. I want to circle back to Bob. He didn't get to finish his advice for Tom, so Bob, please continue. I'm sorry we cut you off of that. You're muted.
First of all, I will unmute myself. First of all, if I were Tom and I were listening to what Tim just did, I would have been lost about 10 minutes ago. Tom, let's get back to where you've just done your Macrium Reflect Restore, which is something you can do.
Yes.
Okay? Now, as Tim said, because we're going this route, we're going to have to do some rebuilding. And you know what your programs are and various things like that. Mostly what I find is I only have to update the programs, make sure there aren't any new Windows updates. There probably are. And in the course of doing these Windows updates, you won't be offered 22H2, but you may be offered 23H2 if your system is ready for it by then. You have to go through one before the other?
Windows 10 stops at 22H2.
Okay. If there is no 23H2 for Windows 10, then 22H2 would be the one you would be offered next. And it would be the last one that you would be offered.
Right.
If you're sure you've got everything up to date and then go through all this stuff that Tim said, that would be good stuff to do afterwards. Make sure everything's just right. You might even want to do SFC scan now and DISM 3 steps just to make sure all the system files are just right and everything's ready. Even check to see from your manufacturer whether there are any driver updates. These are all things you need to do before a major upgrade. And I'm sure Tim could point out a lot more things.
Just a piece of information for everybody here on this topic. We have Tom has a laptop, and he's not the first one I've had to help out with. It's an old AMD A-series CPU based system, and those were all very slow. The fastest one is the equivalent in that time frame of an Intel i3 core processor. So
Does he have an SSD on this machine?
I think we put in an SSD, a 2.5 SATA.
And how much RAM do you have on this machine, Tom?
12.
12. Well, there is a bottleneck there. It's not bad. The 12 is okay. It's better than 8, and it's better than 6, but it would be better to have 16 or more. However, this is what you have. And you could work with that. Just giving you ideas. Another idea that could help speed up your machine is add a little extra more memory to it, but you may not be able to.
Okay. Well, one thing I've noticed, there is a, see if I can shrink this down and see it. Yeah, there is a monitor on this thing. I can't tell you exactly what it's called, I don't think, but there's a monitor that shows the RAM amount that's used and the CPU amount that's being used, percentage-wise. And right now it's showing me 42% of the RAM is used and 31%, 22% is switching. The CPU amount used is showing that. And a lot of times the CPU is, when I'm first bringing it up, of course, is stuck at 100%, and the RAM is, if it gets over 15%, I'm surprised. But I don't see the RAM amount ever getting over 60%.
Well, that's good.
It's a CPU that is the biggest bottleneck in that system.
Exactly.
And you may just have to live with what you got until you decide to move to a newer machine.
Yes. I have no problem with that right now. It's just, I've been watching that, thinking about paying a couple of bucks for getting a better machine, but since there are so many changes out there in the real world right now, I don't want to invest in something that's going to be obsolete, in a year, like we started this meeting talking.
Yeah, and you're not the only person that's sitting on it, so to speak. But at the same time, too, you're talking time is beginning to really run out. You got about 18 months, maybe, left on 10 while it's supported. Now, it'll keep running 10, but every day that goes by, you become more vulnerable to attacks. There's one tool that might be of value to Tom and others. I'll switch again and share my screen on 10. And I hope I don't screw up like I did previously in exiting. Come on. All right. Now, I'm coming down to the taskbar here at the bottom. I'm going to right click, select Task Manager. I changed mine so that I am in the second tab. Most people will come up in the first tab, and you just switch to the second tab. This gives you a monitoring capability of the CPU, the memory, the disks in your system if you have multiple like I do, Ethernet. This one here is for VirtualBox, so ignore it. And this is my discrete graphics card in this machine. If I double click on any one of these, it turns into this small tab, window, whatever you want to call it. And I can watch while I am doing work. How is my system performing? Where is the biggest load? CPU was very, very high, and that I expect because this is a 15 plus year old system. Disk drive, only because of the things that I'm trying to do here, was higher. Ethernet's pretty steady, and so is the GPU. The GPU discrete offloads some of the burden of the CPU and memory that is required to make up your display screen, whatever is on it. So
Jim, you're not sharing your screen.
it says
Thank
I
you.
am.
Oh, we see his performance meter in the left-hand side
Yeah, that's it.
and point right side.
See? That's all there is right now, period. And now if I want to, I can double click again, bring up the whole thing, and if I go to options in here, on 11, there's a gearbox down on the bottom left side, and I can say I want this always on top. That means that monitoring image stays on the desktop no matter what programs you have open. And you can keep looking at this wherever you place it. And as you can see, I have a little bit of resizing capability as well to make it maybe a little bit smaller. So I can now monitor either with it always on top, everything that I do, I see, and I see this monitoring status, and I can figure out where am I being cooked the most on my system. And right now, CPU definitely is one of the major ones, similar to Tom's problem, but this system and CPU are older than what he has. And I think there's a probability that he only has 2 cores in his CPU. This is a quad core. And it's been It's working a lot better since I've been playing some games with it recently. And when I say games, I'm not saying I played games, uh, but in doing tuning and tweaking, that's the game. And you have to do that periodically to keep any system running halfway decent.
Okay, shall we move on? I think
Well,
we've
Robert,
covered this subject.
Bob
I'm sorry.
Premix there.
Oh, sorry, Bob. I didn't see your hand. It wasn't big enough for me.
Nah, that's okay. In this case, it was good to let Tim finish.
Yes.
Because there's the other side of the coin. How much time do any of us want to spend tweaking and tuning and fiddling and twiddling and trying to coax old hardware to act like new? You will never be able to get a PC that is future proof.
That's right.
So, whatever you buy, I like to go kind of middle of the road of what will run this operating system as it exists now. Say Windows 11, 23H2, and of course, we're expecting at least one or more upgrades during the next year. So, maybe a little bit overshoot the optimum, not the minimum, but the optimum recommendations that are all over the tech press about what makes this Windows 11 work best. Don't worry about NPUs. You're not going to be able to keep up with that. And it's probably not going to be a major thing as long as Windows 11 even is Windows 11. It's going to be there, but it's not going to necessarily need the extra NPU. So if I were planning, I would plan how much do I want to spend? How much performance do I want to get out of what I'm spending? And then read up on what is the optimum and what are the high end possibilities, low end possibilities, and what's somewhere in between. So you'll be looking at Intel, you'll be looking at AMD. There may even be some ARM machines eventually that'll do well with Windows 11. And they may be at different price points. And so what I'm saying is, yes, you might want to get the most you can out of your current machine with Windows 10 as long as you got 10. But when you know you're going to have to move up to 11, which is going to be sometime pretty soon, start your planning now.
Oh, yeah.
And see what's out there. See how you feel you fit into the price point, how you feel you fit into performance requirements. Personally, I don't do a lot with computers, so I don't worry a lot about performance. And so I'm over provisioned for what I thought I needed originally. But now that the AI is coming in, I'm sure glad I've got a little bit extra.
Well, and I want to make a comment here before Peter goes. But generally speaking, I have at least 6 to 8 supported Windows 11 systems, much newer, much faster. The most recent one is a Ryzen 7 2700X. I have another machine. I'm trying to get a Ryzen 7 3700X CPU, and most of these have a dedicated graphics card to offload the CPU and memory. And they all have 16 gigs of memory. Plus, I have these little mini computers, and most of them are surprising the hell out of me how well they are performing with 11.
And what are you trying to tell Tom?
Well, I'm not
That you
telling
have a bunch
Tom.
of machines?
I'm not telling Tom anything that he knows he has a slow machine, but in reference to part of what Bob brought up about old machines, I get off trying to see how old a device I can get things working on at an acceptable level. And yeah, that takes a lot of time and effort on my part. You got to have a lot of my knowledge, etc. But another tip, if you haven't gotten into AI, you better, because Microsoft is degrading the troubleshooting tools that are in 10 and 11. They're going to disappear. AI, I've been using that recently for at least 2 machines just to go through troubleshooting options to get those systems problems fixed.
Okay, you're
Go ahead.
segueing here from a different direction. Basically, you're saying that you are willing to give Tom one of those 6 machines.
For the right price, yeah.
Well, I mean, you're a nice-hearted guy. You've
Yeah,
taken
yeah,
these
yeah,
old
yeah,
machines and got them to work,
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh.
you're going to give him one of these old machines that you put your sweat into. But, I mean, that's what I thought you're going with here. That you got all these machines sitting there not doing anything, but you're developing them. Tom needs one. Hey, we're going to shuffle it from one end of this group to another end of this group.
Well,
That being said, Tom, you should be looking out for boxes show up at your doorstep someday soon. Don't hold your breath.
and Sanford's going to pay for it all.
Well,
Just one thing. Just one very brief thing. What Tim says about separate GPU, separate graphics card, unless it's a laptop, think strongly about doing that, Tom. It will help your CPU last longer, and it'll make sure that you can continue the upgrade path for longer with the same machine. A
One,
separate GPU.
one
Okay.
thing, if you get fairly modern, gamers machines, laptops, and more of the laptops are coming with Radeon graphics processors and NVIDIA RTX processors, including the new 500 and 1000. The only caveat, do some research first. I think most of those in the laptop, yes, you have the hardware engine, but it's using your computer's main memory for the video development.
All right, Pete. He's been patiently waiting forever in the wings. Please, please stand up.
Okay,
Yeah, we can
so
see his belly button.
my is doing what I want it to at the particular time I'm using it. I don't touch it.
Yeah.
When I need a new machine, when I need a new machine, I will look at what I'm doing, look at the hardware required for what I'm doing, and search for that hardware.
But that's
So in
also
other words, if my main box here at the house goes down, it's an AMD Ryzen 7 13 gig 1700 A core. If that goes down, I just sold my big CNC machine. The better half is saying I might need to get rid of Fusion, the commercial license for the graphics. If I don't have that, I don't need as much horsepower. This was a gamer's machine, which had the GPU for that allowed me to use Fusion. If I'm only doing desktop apps and browsing and some light word processing, I don't need that level anymore. So I could probably go to a box at that point.
well.
So you're saying evaluate what you're doing and what you think you're going to be doing, and buy a machine that's going to be able to handle what you want to do.
Right. And what that,
Correct.
for clarification, what that means is you have to take stock of all the software you are using and what the manufacturer or developer of that software says are the required minimums that you need in your computer. And always try and do a little above that point so that what you end up with is something that carries forward. Also, try and think ahead. Are there other pieces of software I'm not running now that I know about that I may want to consider running in the future? What's its hardware requirements?
Yeah, I agree with you.
When you're getting into the supposition of what I may be running or what I am running, you want to look at the hogs. You don't care about the little things. There's a little programs that you run, like a performance meter or Macrium Reflect, or those are not hogs. Those are just programs you use intermittently, and they're not going to take down your system. But something that's a hog is something like Photoshop or Photoshop Elements, or something that's graphically orientated, CPU orientated, using large files, if they exist.
Like
if you're
Zoom
doing
too. Zoom more and more is taking up more resources. So
Correct.
You got to have good performance on your Zoom now, and you have to allow for the future them adding more and more features. And if you only allow for now and not what may come down the road, say in a year or two, of changes, then you're going to start noticing degradation again, and you may not be able to do anything on that system that you just bought to get that to improve and be better.
And just to build on that, as AI becomes part of everything else, AI, if you do not have an NPU, is a graphics processor hog or a CPU hog. It'll go NPU, GPU, CPU. That's the order in which it will take up resources.
And we are saying, if I recall correctly, that talking about AI is not something along the line of an off-site program that you're invoking, like ChatGPT. It is something where you're going to use more local services to do something, like you're going to tell your computer, running an AI type program, I want you to create this type of image on my machine, an image of a certain background and foreground and whatever. That's the intensive stuff. But if you're doing it all through a web interface, don't even worry about it, because it's all done in a server farm somewhere else, and it comes back to you with the work done. So you got to make a distinction here when we're talking AI. AI is going to creep its way in. We just don't know to what degree it's going to creep its way in. It's going to start to develop and use more stuff locally, but most of it's being done off-site versus on-site.
Yeah,
you have to need to render what AI is giving you on a return trip.
Right.
Yeah.
So
your system does have.
If you're doing scientific stuff on AI, you're going to need the GPU and the MPU.
Right. One other thing.
To your machine from the internet. Okay.
Are we good on this?
Pete said something. Pete said something that I talked over, and then I want to just do a little piece after that. But Pete, you were talking about when you download stuff, especially scientific.
When you download scientific or, let's say, architectural or design related stuff, and it's being done at the server farm somewhere else, you need to have a GPU with certain hardware sizes to have it render correctly within reasonable time on your local machine. The other thing you need is one heck of a pipe internet connection to that server farm. If you don't have the pipe, then it's no good having the hardware on your side, because it just takes forever. I'm running into that with Fusion now because I'm running off a T-Mobile hotspot connection because of the cost. And so every once in a while, Fusion will go black, and that means that it's thinking somewhere else and transferring data back. And I gotta just wait for it to come back up and be right. But I'm not getting paid $400 an hour to do this work. So it doesn't matter if I wait 5 or 6 minutes.
Okay, the other thing on a much more mundane scale, the other thing in your computer, for all operating systems, when you want a setting to be changed or when you want an effect on your computer, you're going to be telling the computer either voice or type in, here's the effect that I want to achieve. And your computer will make several different settings changes all at the same time. There are photo processing programs that already do uh, things that they trademark under various labels that have multiple effects that work together. And you just move a little slider bar, or you move a little line, or you move points on a line to move a curve up and down. And you begin to get a feel for how these different elements are interacting. And the AI gets a feel for it too. And it learns your style. That also needs the local processing power. So
And-
it does have practical implications.
And with that, we'll move on to a new topic.
We beat this dead horse?
I think so. We've been at this one for a long time. Okay, new question, new direction. Yes, Wayne.
Yeah, I'm still having problems with my Macrium Reflect. Can I share this on
Yeah,
so you can
go
take a
ahead.
look and maybe figure this out?
Go
Sure.
ahead.
Do you know how to share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me get to. Okay, and you notice here I'm having problems that things shows that it didn't run, and so here's the backups that I've done. Here's the logs, but look at all the failed things on my log.
Something tells me you set up scheduling to automatically do things,
Right?
and something may not be correctly set up on your system when this scheduled backup is attempting to go.
Well, the thing I don't understand is it says it's an XML validation error, and I've noticed somewhere it says that I can't find a XML file.
Your backup is an XML file. Okay. Now,
I know, but it
sometimes
says it can't find it.
It may not find it if when it tried to run it, you didn't have your drive hooked up as a
I
possibility.
have the drive hooked up all the time.
That's not always a good idea because of ransomware and viruses. The other thing is that when you get into a failed image full, are you doing auto verification?
Yes,
Okay.
I've tried to set it up that way.
Well, here's the kicker. Go up to other tasks. Go up to other task at the top.
Okay, where
Other task.
I don't see other
It's
tabs.
the fifth one.
Very top row. File, view, backup to the right and restore.
It's underneath the thing. The shared thing is at the top of the screen here.
No.
I can't see.
Oh, okay. We can't see that on our screen.
Yeah, I can't see it because it's got mute and all that stuff at the top of my screen.
You may have to slide your window there a little bit up, down, whatever, so you can see it.
Here, okay, there we go. Okay.
Okay,
now I see. Okay, other tasks.
Other task.
Yeah.
And edit. Edit defaults and settings.
Okay.
Okay. Now go down to auto verify, the fourth one down.
Yes.
And you are not verifying.
I set one of them up that way.
Well,
okay.
Unless you're doing it manually. If you're doing it manually, you can auto verify at the time you're making the backup.
Okay.
But
okay.
If you schedule, you're not verifying.
Okay, well, I thought I'd gone through there, but apparently.
Click OK at the bottom and it'll remember this always.
Okay,
Now, the second thing that can happen in
okay,
Macrium Reflect is when it gets done with a backup and it goes through verification, in this case here, that may have been turned off. In either case, it can come back with a message saying it had a problem and the backup failed or the verification failed.
well, see, all of them are
Just a
all of them
minute,
are all in,
just a
yeah,
minute, just a minute.
okay,
As a result, usually what the problem is you have a problem on your computer. You need to run SFC space /scan now. That
I've done all those. I've
Okay.
done all those.
How about also check disk? Have you run that?
I did check disk, I did SFC, I did DISM.
Okay.
They've all ran through there.
All
No
right.
problem.
Well, on your already know on other tasks you for any scheduling stuff, it was not verifying.
Okay. But now, see, I've got it set up. It does a full, a differential, and incremental.
You don't
Different
need
times.
you select either incremental or differential, and have to understand what they are. But you don't need both. If I'm doing a restore, I restore the full image backup. Then I either install, or I should say, restore the differential, one file, or I go into incremental backups, starting with the oldest to the newest. I restore each one of them so that when I'm done, I've got as close to total recovery as I can get.
So I need to delete one of these, either incremental or differential then.
Yes, I normally in the past at times I did incremental, and when I had to do a restore, it was a nightmare. You're talking if you only do a full backup once a month, okay,
Yes.
fine. That means you got around 30 incremental files you got to restore in oldest to newest sequence.
Okay.
After a new version of the full backup is made, all incremental backups and differential backups can be erased because they are now obsolete. Period.
So what I should do is I do a full once a month, then a differential like once a week,
That's fine. That's fine. But
and get rid of the incremental.
you
Then.
can do differential every day like you're doing the incremental. Okay.
Oh,
But
okay.
it only creates one accumulative file of
Okay.
all of your changes since the full backup. Whereas incremental does it every day, says these
In
are
a
the
different little
changes.
file.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And like I
Okay.
said, now the next April 1st, it's going to do a full backup.
Right.
Every differential and incremental backup you have on your storage device can be erased because they're useless.
Okay.
It's that full backup that's your backstop, so to speak.
So I can erase some of the other full backups in.
No,
Previously.
always keep at least 3 full backups,
Okay.
but only the current differential or
Differential, okay.
incremental series of backups should ever be going. And on April 1st, when it creates a new full backup, those the differential and or incremental backups are worthless. You erase them.
Okay. Now, when can we take a look at my file then and see what it looks like?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here, we just go to my here. Okay, this is my elements. And it would be,
Wait a minute.
it's,
We're not seeing a change in screen.
okay. Let me stop sharing and do another share.
A lot of times it's best to use a desktop share.
How about that? Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, now I for some reason or other, I've got two different Macrium files on here. That's what's confusing to me too.
Well, that could be a part of the problem too, but I'm not sure. Macrium image may be the same machine from the looks of it, an HP 2022.
Yeah. Okay,
But
well, let's look at that.
if you look at either one of them, you might have
Okay.
some files. Now this says a
Okay.
USB stick.
No, I don't.
That's all it's got.
Huh. Well,
Go back.
I've got a USB drive, which is what my D is.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay,
Elements is not a flash drive.
okay.
It's a
Oh.
hard drive.
Right.
Go to the other folder. See what you got.
Okay, let's go.
Now
There
this
we
is your
go.
normal backup,
Okay.
and you got a lot out there. How big is that disk?
It's a 5 gigabyte.
Huh?
Terabyte?
It's 5 terabyte. I'm sorry.
5 terabyte.
Okay.
How much
Yeah.
is full?
Yeah. How full is it?
Let's see.
Do a right click on the drive. Bring up
Yeah, I did.
Properties.
Properties?
Yeah. Wait a minute here. There, you can see it's
No,
used
we can't see it.
1.8 out of 4.5 terabytes.
Okay, so you're safe on that.
But what a lot of these I can eliminate, right?
Oh, probably. I would have to
Yeah.
know what the naming convention is. It looks like you're using all default names, file names for the backups.
Yeah. Yeah, see, there's all these disk images, and then so I don't need all these disk images, and then it looks like there's like only a couple of these file and folder backup. File and folder backup.
Well, file and folder might be your data files as a guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's differential or if that's the incremental.
Okay.
See,
well, I'm gonna eliminate my incremental then. I just do differentials.
Okay. The only thing is, out of this convention here of names, we don't know which files here are incremental files, which ones are differential files. We only know the full ones, I think.
Yeah.
And you should always have at least 3 full backups age-wise. It's father, son, and grandfather.
Okay.
That's the minimum. And some people will keep even more full image backups than that because of things they do, and they periodically want to go way back to catch something that was backed up on one of those images and restore what the system looks like right now.
See, I've got disk images that go way back to like October, so I can get rid of all those up until like January here. And it looks like since January, I didn't get anything until the other day when I did a disk image.
So according to Macrium Reflect, and I put this in the chat, the error message you got means the XML file itself is corrupt.
And where is that at? I don't know how.
Well, it might be best to just trash everything and start fresh.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
I would hang on to the full images just in case, but everything else I would trash. Either decide on differential or incremental, whichever one but only one of those
Okay,
types.
okay,
And I would
Okay.
give it a new file folder name on that hard drive.
yeah,
That would be
Okay.
smart
that's-
too.
Create a new folder name where it's going to go as your destination. Then create a whole new, delete your, not the data, but delete your scripts. That
yeah,
is your instructions to do the backups. Just delete
Right.
them all outright and start from scratch. Do your first image backup, make sure that goes, then do your scheduling from that point forward, all pointing to that new folder.
I think I can eliminate this folder here altogether, this one that's doing a shortcut.
Yeah, just, come up with a complete new name for everything.
Yeah, you've got some kind of setup conflict, I think, going on.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
And it sounds like
Okay.
everything else is you're doing right that might be causing the corrupted file. Also,
well,
run a check disk on the backup drive.
okay, because I did a check disk on my
C drive.
C drive. I did the check disk and I did the SFC and I did the DISM.
Right.
Well, that
That's
check disk took a long time, but it didn't find any problem.
you have to do the check
thing is-
disk on the spinning backup
Okay.
drive.
Okay,
Does that backup drive go to sleep?
yeah.
It
That's-
does?
I don't know. Well, what I do on my laptop here when I'm not using it, I put it into sleep mode.
Okay. So that can be an issue. I'm not saying it is, but some computers and their accessories, when they come up out of sleep mode to do a function like doing a backup, they don't always come up very, very nicely, shall we say. They
'Cause
sometimes.
Yeah, I've left my USB external drive plugged in all the time, and I normally don't turn the laptop totally off, but I put it into sleep mode.
Yeah,
Right, but that may send a signal to that external drive. The computer's in sleep mode, you go sleep too. And then when the computer wakes up to do the backup, the hard drive is still asleep. And that's why it can't find what it needs to do. I'm just guessing here, but I've seen
no, that's a very good
along that
point.
line in the past.
That's an excellent point, Sanford, and that's not a joke. What you may have to do is see if there's a way of controlling the USB drive not to sleep.
Right. Bob?
Okay. Two things. First of all, let's pick up on what we just said about sleep. That is something that's an interaction between the operating system Windows and the hard drive, the Western Digital Elements. Western Digital Elements, they come with their own special software which can help with controlling sleep, but I think I would go with the Windows controls. And I have Windows say, it's in power, by the way. It's in power settings.
Settings,
And in your
system,
power settings, you want to say for battery and for plugged in, both of them. In your setup, I would say USB drives never go to sleep. Main hard drive, never go to sleep.
Okay.
That's a never, never.
Well,
And it's probably going to be in your advanced settings.
Yeah, because I noticed when I put the laptop into sleep, and I noticed when I turn it on, come out of sleep, that it comes up and it shows that it then tries to run the Macrium Reflect.
That's exactly what should happen. If it's not awake at the time that your scheduled task would happen, it will do it immediately as soon as it wakes up, and that's not good. It needs to delay after wake up, so that you make sure all the drives are up. You make sure your main drive is up. Then, bada bing, bada boom, everything goes. Hopefully.
This is one of the real headaches of trying to conserve power by putting them, the computer and its peripherals into sleep mode. It sounds great, but it can be suicidal when you're trying to go to bed and have the system automatically back up for you.
Yeah,
No,
in
that's
other
not,
words,
yeah.
in other
It's
words,
not
if you,
trying to, yeah, it's not trying to back up when I'm at night.
yeah,
It's,
Wayne, what I would do is I would deliberately set it up so that it is doing all this backup when you're not awake, when you're not using the computer, and set it so it won't go to sleep. But Macrium Reflect has a setting upon completion of this task, put the computer to sleep.
okay,
So let Macrium Reflect decide when things go to sleep. Not
okay.
Windows, not the
So leave my,
laptop. Let
okay,
Macrium Reflect dictate.
leave the laptop on then, and then
Yeah.
Macrium Reflect, turn it off, or put it into sleep.
Right, either into sleep or turn off, either one.
Well, the
Whichever you
problem I have is when I turn the computer off, I lose my, I have email, and every time the damn computer turns off, and I try to go back into my email, I gotta log back into email.
Okay. Okay, then you will want to use standby. And if if you have a power failure or something and the computer is going to shut down completely anyway, you should have it set up in such a way that it's got fast startup active, because that at least leaves it a little bit awake, and you might not lose those logins and everything. So
Well,
when
I
you come
can't.
back, you might be back where you need to be.
Well, my options is either, to turn the computer, shut the computer down, or to put it into sleep.
No,
I
you
don't
have
have.
another option in Windows. It's called Fast Startup, and by default, it's active. And that doesn't completely shut down the computer.
Right.
It shuts it down in such a way that once you come back up, everything's the way it was when your session ended, or at least
I
most
don't.
things will be.
I don't see that in my options here.
It's in
You don't need it in the options because it's a default.
Yeah, and to control it, you have to go to Settings, System, Power Management, and there's a URL under the buttons selection on the left. And what you want to do is look at the settings. One of them is Fast Boot, and it should be checked, is what Bob's saying. If you ran
Okay.
Linux on it, say from a USB drive, you might have to have fast boot unchecked.
Okay, so I can go into under the adjusting power and sleep settings.
Just check to make sure that it's checked off. It should be.
Where?
And
Okay.
it's called Fast Startup.
Okay, I'll have to look that up
And
then.
it's one of the advanced power settings, I believe.
Okay.
And it should be checked off. Okay, holding.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Wayne, great question,
Yeah.
great problem. We may or may not have given you the right answers. I did post in the chat a link to a thread that I found on Macrium's website in regards to this same problem. You may
Okay.
want to read through the thread and see what other people have said. You could also,
Okay.
since you are a licensed holder of that,
Yep.
that's who you should be talking to also, is go back to Macrium Reflect and say, this is the problem I got, what is going on? We're giving you what we think might be the problem. I would go back to them and see what they say before you really start. You could easily do some of the things we suggested, easily, and they may or may not help.
Okay.
Pick up backups, start from fresh to a new folder, new directory, blah, blah, blah. That may be a great start, but that may not be the answer to the question why this shows up. We don't know. Follow this thread and see what it says. You got to read through that.
So before you delete anything, go to that thread.
Go to that
See
thread.
if they say something that says we're crazy and we don't know what we're talking about.
Exactly. We don't know. We're guessing what we think it might be, but it seems like this does show up once in a while. This thread was from 2022, so it's not necessarily a current thread, but I wasn't following it all the way to the end. So do a little research on their forum and see what comes up, and feel free to contact Macrium Reflect support and ask them, hey, what's going on here?
Well, I like the idea of eliminating the incremental. I'm just gonna stick with differentials.
Okay.
That was the thing I didn't quite understand, so.
And
Well,
do the differential daily, just as like
Yeah.
you have on the incremental.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Anybody
Very
else got any other problems or questions?
Hope not.
Because
Well, I have a question about the difference between differential and incremental. Is differential going to be adding on top of the file each time?
No, it's a cumulative. The file keeps getting bigger, bigger, and bigger the more changes you have on your system each day. So it gets bigger and bigger. And when you do a restore of the full image, you only have the one differential file to apply all the changes to get you up to date. Versus lots of incremental files.
That's answering the question I needed. So instead of having 30 incrementals, you have one differential that is a stack of what would be 30 incrementals.
Right.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to verify my thought there. Yes.
okay, let's
That's a
go
confusing
to.
topic.
Does anyone else got any questions? Problems? Okay, good. I did send out some listed topics, and if nothing hits anybody right away, I thought I'd play this video from another website that gives a firsthand, we'll say, a walkthrough on using the Apple Vision Pro. This being coming from another website, from one that's copyrighted and trademarked, I'm going to pause the recording for that purpose and resume afterwards so we can discuss this.
Recording stopped.
And bear with me.
Stanford, how about that 5 uses of chat GPS or whatever?
Well, I'm going to play this video first.
Oh, okay, all right,
You.
all right.
All right. Sorry, I didn't.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Anyone want to chime in and say they're ready to go buy one tomorrow? I see Wayne is like right there. Pete, I know you already got 2 on order. And Harry, well, I realize your wife just can't wait to get one of these.
And Sanford's buying one for each and every one of us.
Okay, that being said, we're past that sticker shock. There's some really good things that they've implemented on here. The higher resolution, the lightness of the device, how it sits there. I think the idea of putting the battery pack offloaded, that takes a lot of weight off your head. And the pinching, I think that's pretty good. Anyone else want to comment what they see on there?
If I was flying a lot and I wanted to watch movies while I was flying, might be worth it.
Okay, because you could have a screen the size of your room. You could have a 102-inch screen if you wanted in front of you.
Well, I notice he's standing up and doing all this stuff. I usually, when I work with my computer, I'm not standing up. I'm sitting in a chair.
Right. He was bouncing around a little more than I'd like to for the review, but that's neither here nor there. We couldn't control that.
Well, I liked him walking on the moon. That was good.
That was pretty cool. And he didn't fall over.
Or float away.
When you're wearing that thing and moving around, how's the balance as far as just general walking and moving back and forth? So
He didn't seem to indicate he had an issue with that. But he's a younger gentleman, Probably never had vertigo, so who knows how your mileage may vary.
Yeah, and it's something that probably takes time to get used to if you don't have vertical.
Right. Has anyone tried any goggles? Of any
West Side Meeting years ago, some outfit was brought in with some of the earliest goggles that have ever been produced. And they look pretty good per se, what you saw, but at the same time, too, right now, you might say the cost of these devices, you're paying a lot for R&D.
Yes, you are.
Well, this is just another way for your feed to follow you around all day and bombard you, and you could never escape it.
Yep.
And just think of doing all your social media on that.
That's the idea, I'm afraid. And if you think January 6th, 2021 was bad, you know what happened even without these kinds of goggles when people had phone apps that had Pokemon and they were placing the characters they were trying to catch in traffic?
Mhm.
You know what happened?
Yep. Okay, anyone else? I was hoping this was a good topic to bring up. Yes, Pete.
Sanford, do you use goggles to control your drones?
No, I don't. I have vertigo, so I can't do any first person point of view on anything. And I've tried years ago. I did try using my Samsung phone in one of those cardboard holders, or one of the holders. I actually had one that came with my phone when I bought it at the time, and I could only tolerate it for a short period of time, and my head would start spinning. I just can't focus correctly on that stuff. So no, I don't. I don't fly first person view.
Well,
For what it's
with
worth.
the goggles they were just showing there, I can't explain if you'd had vertigo or not with that, but the way it was showing, you could see the current background quite well.
Right.
So you might not have vertigo because you saw the live background.
And that's a very, Tom, that is an extremely valid point, because the problem you'd have with most other augmented realities is you're not seeing through the device. To see something that's steady, like, a cabinet in the room and the floor and the ceiling. Those are fixed points, and
Yeah.
that helps keep that vertigo at bay if you have fixed points that you can reference to in your visual side.
Yes.
Good point there. You know what? I guess I got to try this sometime, and I would do it from sitting position and see what happens.
Well,
and
yeah.
and
Don't
then
go
take it.
around with it. You could try it, but I can see how with a drone, if you were only seeing what that camera was looking at, then you'd have a problem.
Oh yeah, and so because that thing is going all over the place and speeding through, and yes.
If that's all you could see, then you'd be spinning around and just like the drone is, and you could fall on your face real easy. Anybody could.
Right.
But with that type of view that they were just showing, it'd be much different. But I can't say it wouldn't mess you up a little bit, mess anybody up. But
the way they were showing it, you could definitely see the actual real world, and you would have points of reference.
Right.
But if you need a horizon, always a real world horizon, then you would not want to turn it into full, so that the whole real world totally goes away. But there are various fade levels they have.
Right.
Well,
so you wouldn't get the whole Pokemon experience, but you'd be getting close.
Well, when I was watching that too, I did notice that when you're on the moon, in that case, they were keeping the horizon in the moon. It looked like they were trying to keep that at a proper angle. So if you moved your head around a little bit, it was keeping it in the right angle, like it was true life. So it might still be working for you.
Oh, these things have gyros in them. They know.
Yeah, I mean, so it could still work properly for a person, but again, you'd have to try it. And again, I probably wouldn't buy it because of the price they were talking about. I'll wait a few years before I do that. Of course, I'm a
Oh,
penny pitcher.
prices always come down on these things.
Yeah, that's why I say in a few years.
But don't expect it to come down to like $800.
No.
This is Apple. Apple, what are they going to do? Most maybe $1,000 knock off of it? Maybe. They like to keep their premiums in their pockets. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess you'd have to look back and see historically when the iPhone, or maybe a little more recent, when the Apple Watch came out, first version 1 year versus the next year, did they change the price? They never, I don't recall them dropping or lowering prices. I think that they may hold steady or increase something about it and charge more. So will they charge less? Samsung might, but not necessarily Apple.
Personally,
Yeah.
I'll wait for my next lifetime to think about the AR VR goggles.
Okay, we're going to quickly roll through this. So Terry Moy said he wanted to know what are the, let me just go and share my screen here. 5 ways to use ChatGPT. And I'll share that screen. There you go. Okay, 5 uses, ChatGPT custom instructions. So we have, what do they have? Specify safety and age restricted rules. What is that? Making sure the instructions are used across all chat sessions. There are a few ways you can differentiate them. Oh, I see. This would be rules that you would set in your, when you're using ChatGPT, and you want to set the ground rules on what it's going to do. And it would be, as in this case here, they're saying, please ensure that all responses generated by ChatGPT are appropriate for a child under the age of 10. And then it goes on from there. So you're setting up the ground rules for ChatGPT and the boundaries on how it's going to create the output. So you don't want it to make any suggestion. If the child under age of 10 says, show me a peanut, it doesn't try to show him a, you know what I mean. It won't happen. So maybe that was not a good analogy, or don't show an ass, which could be a donkey.
Don't show how to kill mommy and daddy.
Right, exactly. They're setting up the ground rules and how it's going to work. I don't believe this is what you wanted to really explore, Terry, but this is good stuff here. Especially formulating the rules. Let's see.
It's okay.
It's okay. All right.
And there are also ways, in addition to these kinds of rules, there are ways that you can set what is called the temperature of the responses to be more imaginative, less creative, or somewhere in between, to be strictly factual if you're doing technical research, or to be somewhere in between if you just want to find out what's going on.
Right. There is some good stuff in here. It gets really specific, but what's nice is you can set up these parameters to make the program do exactly what you want it to generate, and not be worried that it's going to go be outside the bounds, that you're going to have to go in and re-edit. That is to say, like you didn't tell it to make appropriate answers for a child under the age of 10, and it starts making appropriate answers for an adult. Now you got to reread it and go, oh, well, this is saying something more for an adult. I need it for a kid, and you have to go rewrite it. No, tell ChatGPT to do that.
There's a wonderful series of videos. I ought to look up the reference for it. which explain complicated scientific principles on 5 levels.
Mhm.
And it starts with somebody who's like a child, and then it moves up to somebody who's got some education, and eventually gets all the way up to the university level. And this would be very much the same sort of thing.
Right. Terry, since you wanted us to show you that, Terry, are you using ChatGPT now?
I'm sorry?
Are you using ChatGPT now?
Well, I'd like to try it. I don't know what else. No,
Was that a yes or a no?
no, not yet, but, yeah, I thought, what are the most popular applications?
Well, but
That's not quite what, that was, but that's okay.
Right, that's not quite what that was. What is preventing you from utilizing this program?
Well, it was tax season, so I.
Okay,
I did probably, yeah, I'll get to it this summer, whatever.
but I don't understand that. I mean, I understand you're busy with tax season, but if you have a question that could be tax related, why couldn't you ask ChatGPT for the answer?
Well, we usually just Google it and that's,
Okay, but
that works.
the thing with ChatGPT is it's conversational. So it builds upon itself. So if you're only just asking the question, when you ask the question, it's done. It'll give you an answer. But maybe you didn't phrase the question correctly, or there's more soft concepts that affect the parameters on what you want as an outcome. And I can't give you an example, but I'm sure, absolutely sure, in the work that you're doing every day, there must be questions that come up about whether something would qualify, not qualify, based off of certain scenarios.
Yeah,
That would be a chat GBT or something newer, something like Gemini that's tied into the internet. Though, you'll never use it if you keep pushing it off. And it only takes 1 minute to set this up to start using this. It really only takes a
Another
minute.
tip for using these AIs, a lot of them have a little microphone off to the right side of where you would type in your questions or problems. And if you click that on and you have a qualified microphone, you can speak what you want and it will translate it into the text, and you hit the enter key and it does.
I used Copilot the other day on my iPad. My wife was doing a crossword puzzle, so she's asking these different questions. So I put them in, and it was great.
Right. And again, even with Copilot, I know, and Gemini, they have the little microphone. And if you got the qualified microphone, you can speak it instead of typing it.
Right. Like Wayne was saying, he's using it to help his wife solve some crossword puzzles. So he puts in the parameter, I'm working on a crossword puzzle. And then he would ask his questions. And every question he would ask, it would know that you're working on a crossword puzzle. So it builds up from there.
Real puzzlers would call that cheating.
Yes.
But until
cheating
out, he's in great shape.
Isn't the cheating asking your husband or significant other?
Yes.
That's the cheating.
That would also be cheating.
Yeah.
But anything that involves lookups would, to a purist puzzler, be cheating.
My wife uses Alexa a lot.
See, it's the same thing. But in those cases, you're asking a direct question, which is kind of like going to Google and Googling it. This is going under the thought that you're going to stay in the same thinking, but you want to build up on it and keep going and going to get the answers.
And see, that's the thing, Terry. Using Google, it sounds good, but you may have to look through umpteen articles to get your answer. And if you use the AI, when you frame your question problem correctly, and you can build upon what your first responses are to refine it more. You can get the answer a hell of a lot faster than playing with Google.
Yes, you hit that there. And on top of that, with when you go and ask Google a question, it gives you a response. You know that you have to page down past the sponsored ads to get to the answer. And it's only going to give you some hyperlinks. None of them are going to notoriously give you the full answer. So versus ChatGPT, it's giving you the direct answer to the question.
Just make
So,
sure that
Harry?
you're, especially for taxes, they usually give you an option of balanced, and to the right of balanced is precision or something that gives you high accurate answers. Always use that when you're doing taxes or problem troubleshooting on computers.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
This product is very easy to use. I illustrated this to some people just last week, and people who never used it before, they went home that night and put it and opened up and set themselves up to use it for themselves personally, and they were just overwhelmingly excited because they were enjoying the responses and how it worked. So that I'll leave alone. Is there any other last questions or comments for our meeting tonight? Nope. Okay, with that, I will end this and say thank everybody for coming. Tim, do you want to add one more thing? Nope. Okay, I'll stop recording.